welcome to Pop Culture Graveyard. I am Hollis. With me, as always, is Dave. Hello, Dave.
Hello there, Hollis.
Welcome, Dave, to our 1-year anniversary.
Hey, 1 year. Now, I guess
year.
that means 50-something episodes then. 52.
That is 52 on the nose. This is our 52nd episode. This is not only the perfect follow-up to Fatso, directed by Anne Bancroft, Mel Brooks' wife, but this is the perfect way to celebrate our 1-year anniversary because, as you once reminded me, Dave, it was a quote from this film that brought us together.
That is correct.
Please tell the story.
There is a process that I believe happens often, particularly in New York City, when we're young and happening, and we meet so many people, not just New York City bar. I'm a bartender, you're a DJ. We're meeting hundreds of people a night. No exaggeration.
We worked in Manhattan nightlife for years.
Yeah, decades.
So that's a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone you meet, even if they're vaguely interesting, you can't really dive in. You got stuff to do. You're really reserving your spots for people who you click with. And I was introduced to Hollis, and Hollis, I don't remember whether he was setting up his gear or whether he had to go out to the car and get the records, and I don't remember what, but he was a little busy, and I was introduced to him, and he kind of gave me like the, oh yeah, hey, which I was absolutely fine with. And I go to leave, and there was something heavy, and I go to pick it up, and I go, I got it, I ain't got it, and I drop it, which is a line from HighAnxiety. And Hollis, who had written me off, turns around and says, what'd you say your name was again? And that was the beginning, because Hollis was like, oh, I will make special space for this guy. He quotes HighAnxiety.
Yeah. It's, I think, as you said once before, like, I had immediately met you and put you in one box.
Perfectly natural.
You said that, and I was like, oh, okay, let me dust this guy off, put him in the top shelf. This movie is such a shorthand for people who know and enjoy it as we do. For those of you who haven't seen the film, came out in 1977. It is a parody of pretty much every Alfred Hitchcock film. And if it's not parodying something specific from a Hitchcock film, it is a wonderfully funny gag that could have been a parody of something in a Hitchcock film. It opens with a title card that says something like, this film is dedicated to the master of suspense, Alfred Hitchcock. And I don't know if in any of your research, Dave, you found out, but Alfred Hitchcock was involved from jump. Mel wanted his okay before he even went forward with anything.
I didn't know that. That's nice to hear.
Yeah, they had lunch together, several lunches, and Mel would show him early versions of the script and be like, do you think this is a good idea? Is this a good idea? And he was like, yeah, this is good. This is fun. And Hitchcock even suggested a scene to Mel to use in the movie. Oh. Mel didn't shoot it because it was too expensive. But the crux of the scene is the lead character would be running from a killer chasing him, and there would be a ferry like 8 feet away from the dock that he's racing towards, and he goes to jump to make the ferry. He barely makes it with his fingertips. He climbs on board, and the ferry's actually coming in.
That's great. It's like a Buster Keaton joke.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, Mel was like, he was sorry he couldn't use it, but it's a good scene. It could have been used in something.
That's great.
Yeah. So he was actually his guest at the premiere. He sat right next to him, and Hitch loved the film.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I like knowing that because it gives more shine to the film. You know, HighAnxiety, produced and directed by Mel Brooks, but it's actually co-written with 3 other guys. And I'm just going to run them down because they're great. Ron Clark, Rudy DeLuca, and Barry Levinson. That
name sounds familiar, Barry Levinson.
Barry Levinson is the most well-known of them. He became a great director. Everything from My Beloved Diner to...
Is our guy in Diner, Breaking Away's
Breaking
Daniel
Away.
Stern's Diner.
Daniel Stern's Diner. He is in that. But yeah, he's had a decades-filled career of great success as a director. Not only is he a great director, but he plays the bellboy in the hotel who stabs Dr. Thorndyke in the shower.
Oh, that's a good performance.
Yeah, as Psycho is parodied.
He has a nice build from.
Absolutely,
he
it's
starts
a
off in a
slow
fairly
build.
good mood. Thorndyke
Yup.
pisses him off.
Right. Another writer, Ron Clark, plays Zachary Cartwright, the patient who has dreams of werewolves, who's in the office. Another great scene. And then Rudy DeLuca, the third co-writer, plays Braces, the hitman who tries to kill Thorndyke in the phone booth. And Victoria gets what she thinks is a dirty phone call, which parodies Dial M for Murder. So great writing group. This is the same group that co-wrote Silent Movie with Mel Brooks the year before. So he's got his crew, not just them, but all of his day players, Cloris Leachman, Harvey Korman, Dick Van Patten, Ron Carey, our beloved Ron Carey, Howard Morris. So I don't know about you, Dave, but if people tell me their favorite Mel Brooks film, it's usually either Blazing Saddles or The Producer or even History of the World Part 1 or something. And I can't fault them for any of it. But if they tell me this is their favorite film, that speaks volumes.
Yeah. I would probably go Young Frankenstein, Blazing Saddles, HighAnxiety would be my order. That would be my.
Yeah. Young Frankenstein, Blazing Saddles. Yeah. Shit. It's tough. It gets tough up near the top.
They must. I mean, all those movies, as we name them, and then there's Men in Tights and the one with Dark Helmet, Spaceballs.
Yeah.
Whenever the trades mentioned that Brooks was working on a new idea or whatever, I'm sure that all these little actors are like, "Oh, we're gonna make one of those movies again," because it looks like such a good time. It's like I watch it like this is like the Carol Burnett show with an unlimited budget. Rather than doing a sketch that takes place in a hotel, you know what I mean? You're doing 2 hours, and you get the hotel and the asylum and the park, but it's still like a sketch show.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good analogy, the Carol Burnett show, because it's that style of comedy at times.
And I'm getting there probably through Harvey Korman.
And I'm surprised that Tim Conway was not in Mel Brooks films.
I see a dozen places he could have turned up.
Yeah, but I think probably Harvey was like, Mel, let me have this. Don't, because I'm sure Mel was like, hey, why don't you call Tim up? And he's like, Tim's busy.
I'll let you bring him in if he plays the Cocker Spaniel.
Oh yeah, Charlie Callis.
No, but that guy kills it.
Old-timey Borscht Belt comedian Charlie Callis. Holla. He was always on the verge of doing a dog character anyway.
That's absolutely true. Yeah.
Yeah.
He had like a rubber face guy.
Yeah.
I'm sure Jim Carrey loved him.
Oh, sure. There's a lot of great actors in this, but it stars Mel Brooks. It's one of those rare Mel Brooks films where he takes the lead. He took the lead in Silent Movie the year before, but he didn't get to say anything because it's silent. I think he's great. It's a great performance from him.
Got a musical number?
He does.
Partial nudity?
Yeah.
They show him scrubbing his inner thigh. They show him soaping up his. I love that that's the shot. He's like shoulder, inner thigh.
Well, you know what? Because it's a perfect parody of the Psycho cuts. Right down to when he's dead, the eye. Like, it's really a phenomenal job of parody, this movie.
And the ink.
Oh, the ink in lieu of blood going in the drain.
Yeah. Terrific.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah. I saw this how old was I in 77? Oh, I was 10. See, little by little, you give away things about yourself.
Yeah.
I was around 10. It introduced me to so many things, like
bondage and discipline.
Yeah. Too much discipline, not enough bondage. But really, though, I think I saw it in the theater with my parents, and I think I probably understood about, I don't know, 20% of it or whatever. But my brother and I were quoting lines from it from there on. I was like, wow, look at this ink going down the drain. That's like high art. That's like film. And
Right.
also the braces, the murderer. Like I'm watching this guy, and I was like, wow, he's a really scary hitman.
Yeah, Rudy DeLuca. He was
He
born to play
like
that
he
with
he could play that in a not funny movie and be
yeah,
very scary.
yeah. Plus that
But he's
was
also hilarious. Oh, thank you.
yeah, yeah. I'd like to kill him. Let me kill him. Oh,
Oh,
thank you. He does look great, and he could do it in a movie like, Clute or something. He could be the hitman in something because that was the 70s. He looked not unlike the guys playing killers in Charles Bronson movies and Clint Eastwood movies. It was a time of it was the golden age of the character actor.
also Jaws from Moonraker.
Richard Kyle. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of that edge too.
Yeah, it's true.
Before you do that, we got to do the fit because I see the cramps shining through there. Which cramps shirt is that?
This is Cramps, The Smell of Female, featuring
Yikes.
featuring the beautiful Poison Ivy. Do you know why I'm wearing a Cramp shirt, Dave?
I don't make the connection.
I was looking in my closet for something comedy related, Mel Brooks related, HighAnxiety related. And then it dawned on me there is a very famous performance that the Cramps did at, I believe, the Napa State Mental Hospital. That is the subject of a video that Target put out, the real Target from San Francisco that covered all the punk bands for the young kids watching. It's a concert that they played for the mental patients, all of which enjoyed the show immensely and danced, and you can watch it all on YouTube, I'm sure. That's my connection.
Oh, that's a good connection. Mine has no connection at all.
Okay.
This is Savage Industries, which is Adam Savage, the non-walrused mustache half of Ghostbusters.
Yes.
Ghostbusters.
Wow.
Mythbusters. And this was actually featured in the Savage Industry was featured in The Expanse, a sci-fi show I like. And Adam Savage eventually wound up in an episode or two as a pilot on one of the spaceships.
Oh, very cool. Nice.
Yeah.
So we talked about the soundtrack, Dave, when we talked about Fatso, and it is a playful soundtrack. I tried to find it. I have it on vinyl. It's somewhere in this library. John Morris.
He's Mel Brooks's guy, John Morris. Yes, like
yeah, he's done a lot with him. He's an older
because when
guy.
I looked up John Morris, I was like, what else has this guy done? And then I just saw like all the Mel Brooks movies.
Yeah,
his name was on them.
Yeah, I think he worked on like 20 of his films or something. Like,
yeah,
ridiculous. Like Blazing Saddles, but things like Young Frankenstein. Like he can do anything.
Must be nice for John Morris to be working on a movie like this because you're pulled out of the background and into the foreground, and you get to tell jokes. John Morris or somebody is telling musical jokes in this movie several times.
That's what I meant by it's a playful soundtrack, because Mel plays with the idea of a soundtrack and how soundtracks are abused and overused in a lot of thriller films. Case in point, the opening flight and airport music that ends with the Mel Brooks line, "What a dramatic airport."
Good line.
It's so good. And he has frequent punctuation of dramatic moments by mugging to the camera with like swells from the music, or the biggest soundtrack punchline, which is an incessant musical accompaniment to the line "foul play," by having the Doc and Brophy hear the music in their car. Yeah, they look around and they trace it to a bus coming up next to them with the Los Angeles Symphony Orchestra in it. Too funny.
Yeah, it's great. And it really, I mean, talk about poking fun. What could possibly make that sting of music reasonable? It's so unreasonable. The only reason they should hear that, the only reason that music should occur would be because a bus was going by with an orchestra on it. It's like someone might say when they're like reviewing the film. Like,
yeah.
The stings on the word foul play are so over the top. The only reason they would make sense is if a bus was going by with a full orchestra on it.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
great.
and I just picture John Morris being like, "Really? Well, like, that's me. I'm included in the comedy." A lot of times when you're doing the music for comedy, you're doing the opposite. You're being less funny so that
Also,
you know.
he he gets to make jokes, like you said, but he also gets to pay tribute to some of the greatest music minds of the 20th century. Bernard Herrmann, who did so many of the great soundtracks, like he's parodying some of the music as well, and it's brilliant. So that must be fun for him as well.
Yeah, imagine you're doing and you get to do a full Psycho scene. You get to do the music for a full Psycho scene,
Yeah.
you know? That's the music that brought us High Plains Drifter.
And I'm the drifter.
Drifter. I think.
Um,
Doesn't it have like a Psycho slash in it?
it does end. It
Yeah,
does before it goes
yeah,
into the Hassenpfeffer ale and all the other things. We're always dropping beastie references. We really
yeah.
need to
You
corral
got
those.
to.
Uh, what's funny is this is like 3 years before the movie Airplane, and the opening 10 minutes, the whole airport and flying thing, it really makes me curious as to how Mel Brooks would have made a spoof of the airport franchise series of thriller films from a few years earlier.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
he could have really done a good job. And then later, there's like that security thing when they're back at the airport that almost looks like a dress rehearsal for Life Stinks. They're all made up in, horrible clothing, and they're going through the detector, and it's played for comedy. But like, there's so many airplane jokes and airport jokes, like Robert Ridgely, who is so good. He's another one of the kind of Mel Brooks repertory company players who is a flasher in the bathroom and is like, "Do you find me attractive?"
Don't run away from your feelings.
Yeah, don't be so gauche. We're all doing it. Like, I love him. He was, of course, the Colonel James in Boogie Nights,
Oh,
which
yeah.
was his real legit movie role, but he'd been in comedies for years. So, like, yeah, good, funny airport stuff.
Yeah, also
Um,
good, like, I'm a fan of airports, a nice Pan Am terminal from the '70s. My
oh,
goodness.
beautiful.
Yeah, there's even some luggage in this. There's even a couple of those, like, vinyl leather totes with the
Yeah.
piping,
Oh,
and the airline logo on it.
beautiful.
Yeah, those bags were amazing.
So, quick question. Am I the only one who sees the Psycho-Neurotic Institute for the very, very nervous and thinks it looks like a great place to live?
I mean,
I mean,
you know, it's the lap of luxury. The grounds are gorgeous. The
gorgeous.
architecture is gorgeous. They apparently live like billionaires.
Well, at
I
one point
mean,
we find out that it's 12 grand a month
mhm. Yeah,
to
and
be
in
there.
'77.
Right. In 70,
Yeah.
I'll do the inflation calculator and put that up. But
You know, when your fruit cup comes in a
goblet.
cauldron, yeah, in a goblet, which it's like it's filled half with ice probably,
Yeah, keep it
and
chilled.
the rest like, yeah, it's a really nice setup
It
though.
is. Did you notice when we saw the gates to the asylum that there's a little sign that says keep in?
I did not see that.
There's all sorts of little visual jokes.
The whole the what is it? The what for the very, very Institute for the very,
Very,
very
very nervous. It's underlined, the
the
second
second
very.
very is it's underlined.
Yeah.
Okay.
Since we're talking about the gate, I'm reminded, I think I told you once before, but when I was in high
Yes.
school, my summer job was working at a mental hospital.
I've seen an aerial photo of it in our Halloween episode.
Is that when it was? Yeah.
I think
But
it was. Yeah, I think it was.
I worked at Creedmoor State Hospital for the very, very nervous.
You missing something, Hollis?
Yeah. It is the same hospital where Lou Reed was given electric shock, which is detailed in his song "Kill Your Sons." But the oddest thing was my first day I went to work there, the gates were off their hinges, and so that sent a message that one, this place is in a state of disrepair, and two,
Mhm.
everybody gets out, which they did. But this place looks like the kind of place where you would not want to escape from
which
And
speaks to how they're running it. I
yeah,
mean, that's the scam.
they're housing people. They're not treating
Yeah.
people.
They're imprisoning people. If they get a hold of a millionaire, and millionaires and billionaires commonly have breakdowns, and they commonly go somewhere beautiful to recover. And this place realized if you keep them there,
Just
you
bleed them
get
dry.
you can just keep getting that check,
Yeah.
you know. And you can see what they're spending it on. I mean, with these lavish fruit cups and these beautiful dinners and silk cop pajamas and
yeah, and frilly cuffs. Your frilly cuffs.
I got a kick out of Corman comes down and he follows through to the point where he does the spoon move to the empty air.
Well, first of all, let me just say the old doctor was murdered, or the old doctor died under murky circumstances, and Mel Brooks's character, Dr. Thorndike, takes over. When he gets there, that's when the movie goes into overdrive, because we meet Dr. Montague, played by Harvey Korman, and Nurse Diesel, played by Cloris Leachman, who is a beautiful woman, and they make her up with a
we
little
say it every
mustache.
time.
We say it.
This is the meanest of all. From what I've read, she did a lot of that. She was like, she was like, I'm gonna put powder on. She's like, I've tried to make my lips disappear.
Mission accomplished.
She said, put on what I had left of my lips. I put on this extremely red lipstick, which immediately got on my teeth, and I said, "Ooh, I'll leave it there."
Yeah.
Yes. So it's nice to know that she was fully dedicated to being the scary Nurse Diesel.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't help but think of Nurse Ratched, is it?
Right. From One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah. These formidable, mean nurses, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, so that's when Nurse Diesel shows up and says the quote, "Those who are tardy do not get fruit cup." We see that in action during the first dinner scene. There's a visual joke, though, Dave. Like, Mel Brooks is not only making fun of the soundtrack of films and of the look of films, but like some of the techniques which are so deftly used by Hitch, like coming up to the window and then going through a window pane.
Yeah.
Here he's like, he tries to do
it. We too went through the window pane.
Yeah. He tries to do it. The window breaks, and they're like, back up. Yeah. And I think you probably hear Mel doing the voice of just, come on, just back up. Maybe they won't notice.
Can picture the chair on the arm, you know, that
dolly
the camera dolly, like when it carries that chair, and there's often the director is like holding on to the back of the chair, like back it up. Yeah, it does that really well. And you know, you see these articles because I poked around a little, and it says like Mel Brooks parodies 12 Alfred Hitchcock, and I'm like, yeah, well, and half a dozen techniques.
Right.
Not just the movies, the techniques are parodied, you know. They also, you know, they break the glass near the beginning and they break through the wall towards the end.
Yep. Yeah. Call back.
But that's great to parody the you know, picture all those you know, I don't know what you call them, ADs and all the different
and the PAs.
Camera and the PAs and the DPs, all those people. They were loving that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, how often do you get technical jokes?
Right.
You know, I think we're uncovering some things here. You're getting score jokes. You're getting technical jokes. Like, this movie is pretty impressive.
You're getting point of view jokes. You're getting like the villain tilt. You're getting spiderweb window pane, which parodies Notorious. There's a lot of that stuff. And just to finish up the dinner scene, she watches that clock like a hawk. And the second that Dr. Montague is like 10 seconds late, she rings her bell, and the butler comes and takes away his fruit
cup, as promised.
But he shows up and he goes through the motions. And how do you do that, Dave? How do you not realize the fruit cup isn't there before you go to take a spoonful?
I didn't remember if he actually leaned in. And he's coming down the steps in that little jog you do when you know there's a fruit cup. You know what I mean? You're like, fruit cup, fruit cup, fruit cup. And Corman just nails it. And he sits down at the table. I think he tucks his napkin in. And I'm like, is he going to do it? Is he going to go all the way to the bite? And he does. He goes leans in, takes a scoop that's not there.
There's even word jokes, Dave. You know how, like, in these kind of thrillers, people are always interrupting each other.
Not necessarily.
You didn't get there quick enough.
No, I didn't.
But like he says to Howard Morris's character, Dr. Little Oldman, but doctor, is it really Nessa? And he goes, it is Nessa. I know what's Nessa. Don't tell me what's Nessa. I tell you what's Nessa. And it's like,
that's one of the things my brother and I were saying from LS.
Yeah, it's a good joke when you're a kid. Like,
yeah, my mom's like, finish your, I was like, that Nessa? Is that really Nessa?
Yeah. But even, Dave, they had Harvey Korman wearing what's basically a referee shirt and bow tie underneath his sport coat scenes earlier. Rewound. Yeah, just so that he could later take it off. And we have the visual joke of him refereeing the fight between Thorndike and Dr. Lil Ullman. The thought, the wherewithal, the front loading.
I was like, I'm pretty sure that he had stripes and a bow tie on already.
Yep.
And I went back and was like, oh, yeah, look at that. Yeah. But Corman is so good. The way he takes his jacket off, the way he sets it aside, and he starts moving. He could have been in Raging Bull. He could have been in Rocky. I mean, he's so good at it. He's instantly a completely believable ringmaster or whatever.
Very believable. Light on his feet.
Fight ref. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so impressed with Corman in this movie.
He is so unbelievably good. You know, I think I mentioned one of Harvey Korman's lines in another episode of ours, but it's a throwaway line. But what I love about it is it's such a difficult mouthful, a ton of verbiage, and yet it comes trippingly off the tongue of Corman, who is such a pro. And it's like, I'm so sorry I'm late. It took longer than I'd anticipated to complete my rounds this morning.
Oh, yeah.
He says it so sweetly. And he's got that little, like, William Powell mustache. He's so classy and effete. And yet
he's Rhett Butler, but he's in comedies.
Yeah.
And he's amazing.
He's so, like, princely almost. And yet he has this sadomasochistic relationship with Nurse Diesel. And just to finish up the fruit cup scene, it's another side of their personal behind closed doors relationship where it's just like she disciplines him at the table. He's not getting fruit cup because he's late and he knows what happens when he's late. She's in control of his whole world. Like, it's very psychosexual.
It's silk police pajamas and ropes and chains and whatnot behind closed doors.
Ropes and pulleys.
Yeah. It's denied fruit cup out in public. Like she's still working on, her sub.
It's an elbow in the ribs too.
You know what you are.
Yeah. I don't know how he does it because he's so good in this that he's like, even though he's this cuckolded, like sniveling shit of a character who has no problem about holding people against their will and about like terrifying. He terrifies this patient.
Yeah, it's like
torture.
It's like terror gaslighting or something.
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
Some combination of terror.
Absolutely.
But it's also, I think that his werewolf work in that scene, that's the best in the movie.
And he's wearing vampire teeth. And it's
in
not
and
like,
out, though. In and out. In and out.
Always looking at the doctor at just the right point.
Dr. Thorndike keeps like whirling around. Like, what do we do? What's wrong with him? And every time Corman's ahead of him with the teeth out, like, who knows? I don't know. What's wrong with him?
Perfect.
But
timing.
That is a masterclass in timing and just unbridled. Like for this scene to work, you just got to go nuts.
Yeah.
And he does it. Yeah. I mean, it's just like cliche, like fingers pointed, gritting his teeth, but not growling. Like he's not.
Oh, he's growling.
Oh, is he does he
He is
growl?
growling. Yeah.
So so Thorndyke doesn't notice
He doesn't
with all the
notice.
commotion,
Yeah.
right. But maybe it's just like under. He's like, "Arr, arr,
Yeah.
arr." Yeah. That's the most impressive performance in the film.
Wow. That's saying something. There's a lot of good performances. So we mentioned just last episode, I think, about the half a mustache on
Yeah, it came up perfectly
Norton.
because
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, I hadn't forgotten, but I was due for a refresher of the Norton scene. I forgot that Corman, the mustache, he's like, his mustache was ripped off. And he's like, you'll never know the pain. And Corman punctuates it with, it can get quite dicey up here at times. Like, that's beyond dicey. That's,
Yeah.
oh,
Not to mention the whole time your brain is the whole time that joke is unfolding, your brain is grappling with the idea of that half a mustache is not a single thing. Like you can't.
right. How could he just the patient just put it on himself like it's, a fake? And also, why didn't Norton shave since then?
Yeah.
Grow a new one. But he's just like, almost like a defiant kind of like, I still have it.
You can
Oh,
only steal half of a fake mustache. You
I know.
can't steal half a mustache. It's almost like an inside film joke. Like
Yeah.
no one's mustache is real.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Um,
But that guy nails his, and it's
oh,
got the classic cell door with the slide, but it's slidable from the patient's side.
yeah, that's new.
I think just so they can tell that joke.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they are slidable from the patient's side just so that they can tell that joke.
Yeah, it's true. Because they wanted, it could have just been the absence and he could have just stuck his face there.
No,
But then you would miss him slamming it on Norton.
It's a laugh-in joke.
It is.
It's like you
Yep.
expect Roy Clark to be on the other side. Oh, never mind. That's hee-haw. I'm sure he was on Laugh-In at least
Yeah.
once.
We'll call it Judy Carn. So we mentioned the soundtrack earlier. My beloved Dick Van Patten from Eight is Enough is in this film, and he is murdered. Death by busted eardrums, Dave. And the song Bad Rock, the song that plays is a perfect parody of some of the shock rock of its day. It's almost like when Donnie Most played a Kiss-like character on a TV show. Or when Sonny Bono played a Kiss-like character on Love Boat. Like it's a parody of that kind of acid rock. And if you love me, baby, tell me now. And it gets louder.
What was the Osmonds one about the Osmond song about the evil horses?
Crazy Horses?
Crazy Horses. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Crazy Horses.
Yeah, which is a great album, by the way.
I believe it. It's a great number. Crazy Horses is a great number. Look it up, people. You won't believe it's the Osmonds.
You know what? Let's talk about Madeline Kahn, how great she is.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, she was fantastic in Young Frankenstein. She's amazing here. There's a scene where she gets out of a car completely covered in like.
Yeah, I believe it's a play on Louis Vuitton. I don't know if it's LV, but.
It is Louis Vuitton.
Yeah.
So good.
She has a Louis Vuitton bag, a Louis Vuitton full Eddie Murphy leather outfit.
Yeah.
And a Louis Vuitton car that is full Louis Vuitton. And this is before you could do those wraps. It was really nice looking.
Yeah, good job, prop department.
This movie has the nicest limousine I've ever seen in my life, ever. Mercedes,
bringing them
6-door. I think it's actually a 4-door, and then the two center doors are not there, but it is I'm sure that is one of the nicest limousines you could possibly ever be in. It's beautiful. It looks so spacious. But you're going to tell me that I really need to get the character together, but what do you call that when you're allowed hall pass? You know, the hall pass?
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad's hall pass is Lily Von Stupp.
Oh, wow. Yeah, her character from Blazing Saddles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my dad's a big fan. Big fan.
Wow.
Yeah.
Specifically Lily Von Stupp, not really Madeline Kahn.
No, Madeline Kahn.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. He likes her and everything. Yeah.
That's great. Gone too soon, Madeline Kahn. The last thing I remember being like, oh my God, she's Madeline Kahn. I love Madeline Kahn. Was Clue. Like, she died far too young. I think we'd still be seeing her and stuff as in old lady
Oh,
roles.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's weird how she suddenly wasn't there and everybody else kept going.
yeah.
Um, Her reactions to his um, rendition of High Anxiety
Oh,
is one of the things that makes it so good.
yeah.
When
She's swaying back and forth enraptured by the music, and then when he
he
slaps
does a
the micro.
mic cord whip crack. I've
Oh
never seen that before. A
no.
mic cord whip crack.
And she responds in a like sexually flushed fashion.
Yes. She
Like,
only Madeline Kahn. Only
only.
Madeline Kahn.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so good.
so good. Yeah, she's fantastic. And the
Mm.
way when she thinks she's getting a heavy breathing phone call, the way she's
Oh,
like caressing the bear
oh,
and
and playing
yeah,
with the phone cord and just
yeah,
oh.
she's really good.
What do you? My favorite is, what are you wearing? And he goes, je, jeans. You wearing jeans? I bet they're tight. Like, oh, so good.
Yeah.
Um,
Speaking of that number that
oh,
she's reacting to, I mean, hi highlight of the film,
yeah.
Mel Brooks just writing in a lounge number
And it's
for
great too, because
himself.
he's always had a bit where he kind of talks about strangers in the night, this great old song. And he's like, it keeps building. We were strangers and it keeps building. It's like there's nowhere to go. It just keeps building. So like he has elements of that in this song. You could
Oh,
believe it's a
yeah.
jazz standard. It's wonderful. He asks him, like, do you know high anxiety? And he's like, yeah. And B flat okay or whatever. Like,
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
like, what key
yeah.
okay? And
It's
he's
an
with the
abs
mic. He's like singing here. Like he
yeah,
pretends he doesn't know how to sing. Yeah.
you know, who's the guy who makes Family Guy and,
Seth MacFarlane.
Seth MacFarlane? That's one of the things I like about Seth MacFarlane is that he is he's from the old mold. He can sing, he can dance, he can write dialogue, he can write music. He writes big musical numbers for Family Guy and other stuff. Huge stuff. And he reminds me of Mel Brooks that way.
Mm.
He'll never be as cool as Mel Brooks, you know, but I respect him because he can do that. He could, I could be making musicals, but I want to be funny.
Seth MacFarlane, by the way, does music and sings with Elizabeth Gillies, who is a big crush of mine and my wife. So shout out to her, great actress. But we talked about some of the movies and parodies. The main parody is the title itself, High Anxiety, standing in for Vertigo, which is suffered by Jimmy Stewart in the movie Vertigo. And he gets it from a very real place. He gets it from chasing a suspect on a rooftop, and this cop that tried to help him fell and killed himself, and so he's got that trauma. Mel Brooks's trauma comes from being in a high chair as a baby, and his parents were fighting, and he was falling,
It's
and it's
uh,
ridiculous
yeah.
how
It,
it's
they
unlocked.
almost it's beautiful when they unlock it. They take the whole premise and they just throw it away. I'm not afraid of heights. I'm afraid of parents.
Yeah, and he's cured. He's just cured.
That's it. And that brings you to the next line that my brothers and I said constantly, which was, "Climb, you son of a bitch, climb."
Climb, you son of a bitch, climb. Yeah, Dr.
Yeah.
Little Oldman.
At that point, Dr. Thorndike is literally hanging on by one finger.
Oh, what's great is that it parodies the ending of Vertigo so perfectly, that tower scene, and yet it's a happy ending. He gets
Mm.
the girl, he gets,
He
he's now
rescues the
he
father.
rescues the father of the woman. So
The,
like, and it's great because there's a false scare. It's Harvey Korman, fins, like, but he disposes of Nurse Diesel, and when she's falling, she gives us a moment of the Wicked Witch of the
I
West,
know.
where she
Yeah.
gets on her broom and it looks like she's going to fly away. And then they look
Yeah.
at each other like, oh my God, she was a
You,
witch. And then she doesn't. She
then
dies.
she bounces off a rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love Harvey Korman, just the fins. I didn't like her. She never bathed. I like you, though. Like, he's just looking to become a slave to someone new.
Yeah. She's looking for the next, he's looking for the next master. Yeah, it's a great ending, and it's a reminder that there are some amazing locations.
Oh,
I honestly, what have I seen? I know I've seen The Birds. I'm
which is
obviously,
parodied in the pigeon crapping on him scene.
yeah, I've seen lots of scenes from Psycho, but I've never seen Psycho. Uh,
What?
yeah.
Oh my God.
Um, what's another? What are the majors? Birds,
Aside from
Psycho.
Psycho, you got North by Northwest.
Never seen it.
Oh, uh, you've got, I
Dial M for
said,
Murder.
Vertigo.
No.
Dial
Vertigo.
M for
No.
Murder, you've never seen?
No.
Wow, it's based on a stage play and it's very faithful,
So
and it's a great movie. Strangers on a Train,
no, never seen it.
Notorious,
Never seen it.
Suspicion.
Nope. You're like, how did
Well,
you enjoy High Anxiety?
yeah, you know what then? You're really going to enjoy, if you ever tiptoe through the filmography of Hitch, you're going to be like, "Oh, High Anxiety.
I'm
Oh,
gonna
High
go to
Anxiety."
a an Alfred Hitchcock retrospective, and
Yeah.
everybody's gonna be going, "Why is that guy laughing so much?
Yeah. Ooh, anxiety.
Hey, anxiety."
Yeah. Oh, throughout the entire movie, Brophy is taking pictures. I'm very photogenic, which is not the meaning of that word.
He also says this hotel is very modern.
Oh, how modern. Look at this.
Yeah, so
Ron
he's a
Carey.
shutterbug. He's
Yes,
very photogenic.
that's exactly what he is. They play with the idea, or Mel and the writers play with the idea of having your picture taken, because Dr. Thorndike, when he's picked up by Brophy, he's like, "Not now, Brophy." And then he's like, "Pose." And he starts posing,
He
like,
starts
and
doing cover girl stuff. Yeah,
he jumps over the
yeah.
trunk at one point. And then later when he's like, "Hey, let me get a picture," when he's about to leave for the lecture, and
Ev Everybody
Nurse
snaps
Cecil,
to it.
yeah, they all turn around. It's
Yeah,
so
they all give
funny.
their pose. Yeah, yeah, it's really good.
And his picture taking, Brophy, is a major plot point, and it
Mhm.
solves the death. And you mentioned you didn't see North by Northwest. In that movie, Cary Grant's character is indirectly framed for a murder, or is seen to have murdered someone. So it's it's expertly done here, but it also has kind of a Scooby-Doo aspect, or later a Mission Impossible aspect, where Rudy DeLuca takes off the mask and it's braces, and he was portraying him. So like, there's a lot of original stuff in here. It's not
Yeah.
straight up parody.
It's also, basically what Brophy does with that photo is enhance,
Blow it up.
enhance, enhance, enhance that image in the elevator. Zoom in on that face. Like,
Yeah.
that's what Brophy's doing in his dark room.
Yeah.
And it's also a very big joke.
As if he'd have a pan with a bath big enough to make that photo that's on the
The thing
wall.
when he reached for the very first scene is he reaches for a bigger piece of paper, and I'm like, "Oh my god, that's so," because you would
This has
just
to be
develop
much,
that
much bigger.
portion.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say that I think it is entirely possible that the first joke I ever found funny to memory, I'm sure I found things funny as a little baby, but not quality stuff, you know? Well, those plastic keys were pretty funny.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the first things I ever found funny was a Mel Brooks joke on the record "Free to Be You and Me,"
You've
which
quoted
was
that record before.
yeah, Marlo Thomas, I believe,
Hmm.
a children's record that I think it had, It's Alright to Cry on it,
Hmm.
um, and, it had a song, I don't know whether it was a song or just a sketch where Mel Brooks and Marlo Thomas are babies in a hospital. Um, they'd just been born, and Mel Brooks is convinced that he's a girl and that the girl he's talking to is a man. And she's like, "Why do you think you're a girl?" He's like, "Oh, look at my dainty feet. I got these dainty little feet. I'm definitely a girl. I'm a girl for sure, for sure." And she's like, "What about me? What am I?" And he goes, "Oh, you're a boy." And she's like, "How do you know?" And he goes, "You are bald, fella. You are bald, 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 bald as a ping pong ball. You are bald." And that was one of the first things I remember finding funny. Uh,
Wow.
yeah,
So let's see if there's any taglines. Very simple. You ready? The master of comedy takes on the master of suspense.
check. I sign off on that. No notes.
Perfect. And
Perfect.
absolutely right at that time. That's exactly who each of them were.
That's
Yeah,
great. I love it. Yeah. I mean,
great.
part of why it works is because the title of the movie is so good. Um,
Yeah.
it seems simple at first glance, like it could have been named Fear of Heights. But
That's
what
that is funny.
but what Alfred Hitchcock did for a living was create high anxiety. Like
Hmm.
that's what he does.
Yeah, it's true. Also,
So
it's like high anxiety, like high drama,
mhm,
top shelf,
uh,
like high
right.
anxiety.
Perfect, yes. And you
Yeah,
know what else it does is it again, it honors the source material,
it
that
does.
tagline, because I could see Mel Brooks being like, "That's the one, because we gotta include Al. Like,
Hmm.
we owe everything to him on this. Let's use that one where we call him the I don't mind being called the master of comedy, don't get me wrong."
Yeah.
Right, but it pays
Um,
homage.
and also, this film delivers what you and I are always saying films in the 70s always brought you a lot of genres all in one. It's a comedy, it's a mystery, it's a thriller. It's kind of like Foul Play that way, or Silver Streak, any of these great
Mhm.
films of the 70s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
imagine comparing high anxiety to 48 hours.
Ooh.
Um, but I would. It's scary at times.
It's scary at times and it's funny at times. Luther,
Yeah.
did
I
you
mean,
hurt yourself? It looked real painful the way you,
the
you
the
ran
way
into
that
that.
the car door.
Yeah.
I thought the high anxiety was, especially when I remember seeing it more than once, young,
Yeah.
and being like, "This has very scary moments in it."
You
Um,
know,
that
I
big piece of glass that goes through braces.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that's real. And
Yeah.
seeing Cloris Leachman die the way she does, like if you're a kid, remember how scary Margaret Hamilton was in The Wizard of Oz? So
Mhm.
Nurse
Yes,
Diesel at the end is equally scary as she's
she
channeling
is.
her.
There's also a point blank shooting, a shooting of Al Hobson, is
Mm,
the actor's name. I figured we'd give him. He takes, I think, 2 in the chest and 1 in the forehead
right. Yeah.
from what appears to be Thorndike. But
Hmm.
that is a point blank shooting,
Yeah.
with people running and screaming. One with a
Yeah.
lovely Lufthansa bag, by the way.
Yeah.
Um,
Nice.
but it's scary at moments. It has a little bit of, and I picture, Mel Brooks people going to the movies, they're spending some money, they want everything. Give
Yeah.
them everything. Give them
Yeah.
everything.
And it's great too because the ending parodies Vertigo. But as I said earlier, it's got a happy ending. It's a happy ending. We cut straight from the tower to their like marital bed. They've just been married in this really cheesy place and they do the callback to the camera thing. But the ending of Vertigo, I believe, and I know I realize you haven't seen it, is the most depressing ending of any Hitchcock film, and possibly one of the most depressing endings of any film. It
I'll
is
run right
really,
out and see it.
yeah, yeah, right. Really, I know you love depressing endings,
You know me.
but it's like really sad, and you're like, oh fuck, like it's a gut punch,
Uh,
and yet the movie's a masterpiece. So it's one of the most beloved films of all time, even with that ending. But like this film gives us something that film doesn't even give us.
mhm.
So
Picture Hitchcock in that audience, sitting next to Mel Brooks,
yeah,
and maybe getting a warm feeling like, "Ah, Vertigo with a happy ending."
yeah,
I mean, it's a really positive ending. He's overcome his high anxiety.
Yeah.
He got the girl. He saved the person who was in jeopardy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a series of victories all in one.
Yeah, it's all wrapped up in one.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Exciting 5 minutes.
Yeah. Great.
Dr. Little, who played Dr. Little Old Man?
That's Howard Morris. He's a legend. He was in Sid Caesar's Show of Shows back in the 50s.
That makes perfect sense. When Thorndike has his first episode, he brings him back into the office and he's like, Zetzenzi. He tells him to sit down in German. I'm like, that guy's German.
Oh, to sit? Yeah.
Rudy DeLuca. Oh, he looks a little bit like that Chinese bookie movie guy.
Ben Gazzara?
He looks a little Gazzara-ish in his old age, yeah. Oh my God, look at the Ron Clark picture.
Just struggling against Montague and
yeah. That's so funny. That's his IMDb picture.
Wow. Well, he hasn't, he's a writer. He hasn't been in too many things.
I know. I'm looking for a thing, like one last little, Newhart's neighbor. He's working the front desk at the hotel. How come he doesn't get any jokes?
Yeah, the Bob Newhart show. Jack Riley. He played Mr. Carlin, the guy who was in his group therapy.
He'd either be going in or coming out.
Yeah.
And maybe he would try to get friendly with the receptionist.
And he's working the front desk at the hotel.
He's all straight lines.
Yeah, well, kind of. There's one, he hits the bell and he goes, "Oh, Dennis." And that's a line from Jack Benny, from the old Jack Benny show.
Yeah, Oh, he also says, he says a Mr. McGuffin called.
Oh, yeah.
He said to move you to the 17th floor.
The old Hitchcockian MacGuffin. Yeah.
It's the details.
That's good.
It's the little details.
We talked about how perfect the shower scene is, and it goes just like with Janet Leigh. It goes in on his eye, and it like widens to a shot of him lying there, supposedly dead. And then he can't resist the line, "That kid gets no tip."
It's just a Hitchcock scene until he says something.
Yeah.
Then it's a Hitchcock parody.
Yeah. It's so great. It's such a great melding of the two worlds.
That kid gets no tip.
Oh.
Man, and you know what? That would have been my second choice, but I'm with you on the first choice for the show title.
All right, everyone, enjoy your fruit cup.
Don't be late.
Don't be late. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Hollis.
Welcome to our 1-year anniversary. Signed, the Violent Ward.
Hollis and Dave would like to thank you for enjoying Pop Culture Graveyard.